Alex Carter was a man who had everything: wealth, power, and a reputation that sent shivers through boardrooms worldwide. Yet, beneath his cold exterior, there was a gnawing emptiness, something he could never explain. It haunted him in dreams, in the fleeting moments between closing billion-dollar deals and emptying glasses of aged whiskey. One night, after a particularly grueling day, Alex collapsed into his king-sized bed in his penthouse overlooking the New York skyline. Sleep came fast, but so did the dreams, fragments of memories long buried. A soft whisper, silver wings, the sound of laughter like chimes in the wind. He woke up with a gasp, sweat lining his brow. Something felt different. He reached under his pillow, expecting the smooth fabric, but his fingers wrapped around something else. He pulled it out and stared at it in disbelief. A pregnancy test. The world seemed to tilt. He sat up, heart pounding, gripping the test in his shaking hands. Positive. It was a joke, it had to be. But then, the flashes came faster, images of a woman with luminous violet eyes, her golden hair cascading like a waterfall, her delicate fingers touching his cheek. Lyra. The name burst through his mind like a forgotten song. He hadn't thought of her in years, had convinced himself she wasn't real. But she was. And she was carrying his child. 15 years ago, Alex had been a different man. Just a boy, really, trapped in a world of expectations, suffocated by the weight of his family's name. His father had drilled into him that emotions were weaknesses, that power was all that mattered. But then, on the night he lost his first tooth, everything changed. She came to him like a dream. A fairy, no, an angel, glowing in the moonlight, her wings shimmering like spun silver. She wasn't supposed to be seen, yet he had woken up, eyes locking onto hers. He expected her to vanish in fear, but instead, she smiled. "You're not supposed to be awake," she had said, her voice a melody. He should have been terrified, but he wasn't. Instead, he found himself drawn to her, fascinated by the way she moved, the way her eyes held centuries of wisdom yet sparkled with mischief. Every night, she returned, even after his last baby tooth was gone. Their meetings stretched beyond childhood, he grew into a young man, and their bond deepened. What had started as innocent curiosity evolved into something forbidden. They fell in love. It was reckless. It was impossible. And yet, it was the only thing that felt real. But Alex was weak. When his father discovered the truth, he had been given a choice: abandon his childish fantasies or lose everything. And so, he did what was expected. He turned his back on Lyra, on love, on the magic that made life worth living. He told himself it was for the best. That she would move on, that she would forget. But now, she was carrying his child. Alex needed answers. He needed to find her. He combed through every resource at his disposal, hired investigators, scanned security footage, and pulled every string his wealth allowed. But magic was not something that could be tracked with technology. Days passed, then weeks, until finally, an old woman who ran a dusty bookshop on the outskirts of town. She looked at him with knowing eyes when he mentioned Lyra's name. "She is running, Mr. Carter," the woman said, sliding a tattered book across the counter. "And she is being hunted." The blood drained from his face. "There are those who want your child, Alex. A child born of human and fairy blood is powerful beyond imagination. If they find her first." She trailed off, but the warning was clear. He had wasted too much time. Throwing the book into his car, he drove through the night, following cryptic messages and hidden signs, pushing past exhaustion. His fortune meant nothing. His power meant nothing. All that mattered was finding Lyra before it was too late. The abandoned cabin sat deep in the woods, hidden from human eyes. But Alex saw it. He felt it. Magic pulsed in the air, thick and charged. He stepped inside, breath hitching as he saw her. Lyra. She stood near a small fire, cradling her stomach, eyes wide with shock. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered. "I had to find you." Tears welled in her eyes, but she shook her head. "You left me, Alex. You left me when I needed you the most." Guilt crashed over him like a tidal wave. "I made a mistake. I thought I was protecting you. But I was a coward." He stepped closer. "I won't make that mistake again." A sudden crash outside sent both of them into high alert. Shadows moved beyond the trees. "They found us," Lyra breathed, terror lacing her voice. Alex pulled her behind him. "Not while I'm alive." The door burst open, revealing cloaked figures with glowing eyes. They weren't human. They were after the child, after its power. Magic crackled in the air as Lyra summoned what little strength she had left, but she was weak. The pregnancy was draining her abilities. Alex didn't hesitate. He charged, fists colliding with the nearest attacker, using brute strength against magic. He was outmatched, but he didn't care. This was his family. He would not lose them. Blood dripped from his temple. A knife slashed his side. But he fought with everything he had. And just when it seemed all was lost, Lyra let out a piercing cry. One final burst of energy sent the enemies flying. Silence. They were gone. Alex collapsed, breathing hard, eyes locked on Lyra. Is the baby okay? Tears streamed down her face as she nodded. They couldn't run forever. The world of magic and the world of men would never allow them peace. There was only one way to protect their child. Alex stood before the Council of Elders, Lyra at his side. The rulers of the fairy world and the most powerful men of his own. He had called them together for one purpose. I renounce my wealth, Alex declared, his voice unwavering. Every penny, every company, every estate. In exchange, I want protection for Lyra and our child. Gasps rippled through the room. Lyra clutched his hand. Alex, no, it's done. He turned to her, eyes softening. Money means nothing. You, our family, you are everything. The council deliberated. Then, the verdict. His fortune was stripped, his empire dismantled, but Lyra and their child would be safe. As they walked away from the world he once ruled, Lyra squeezed his hand. You didn't have to do this. He looked at her, at the life growing inside her, and smiled. I never needed billions, he murmured. I only needed you.